Petty Cash Funds by Kieran Holden. Petty cash funds are an amount of cash kept on hand to purchase minor expenditures needed by the business. Petty cash funds are ideal because a business does not have to record the minor purchases until the replenishment of the petty cash fund. There are three activities involved in a petty cash fund: establishing the fund, making payments from the fund, and replenishing the fund. So how do we establish a petty cash fund? We establish a petty cash fund by writing a cheque for the amount of cash you want in the fund. We then cash this cheque and place the responsibility for monitoring the fund under an employee who will be custodian of the fund. For example, say I am the owner of a small business and I want to establish a petty cash fund. I've written out a cheque for $100, cashed the cheque, and I've placed the responsibility of the fund under my manager. Looking at the journal entries, I have debited the petty cash fund $100 and credited cash $100 to establish a petty cash fund. So how do we use a petty cash fund? Once a petty cash fund has been established, the cash on hand can be used to pay for minor expenditures in two ways. The first way is cash can be taken from the fund to make purchases, or in the second way, employees can seek reimbursement from the fund for payments they have personally made. Both ways require the custodian to collect receipts from the use of cash in the fund. No journal entries are made as the cash is used from the fund, as this occurs when the fund is replenished. So how do we replenish the petty cash fund? As cash is used in the fund decreases and it must be replenished. We do this by counting the remaining cash in the fund and cashing a cheque to bring the total cash amount in the petty cash fund back to the original balance. We use the receipts collected in the fund as documentation for recording the expenses incurred. In our example, the cash in our petty cash fund is counted and only $30 remains. We then need to cash a cheque for $70 to bring the cash back to its original $100. We also need to count the total receipts. In this case, our total receipts equal our total cash spent from the fund. Therefore, we would cash the cheque for $70 to replenish the fund. We would also conduct the following journal entries to replenish the cash fund and record the various expenses incurred. Sometimes, when a petty cash fund is replenished, the amount needed for the replenishment does not equal the total amount of receipts. So what do we do? The difference between the total receipts and the cash needed to replenish the petty cash fund is charged to a temporary account called cash over and short, which can have either a debit or credit balance. A credit balance will decrease expenses and a debit balance will increase expenses. For example, say the amount needing replenishment is still $70, but our receipts only total $65. In this case, we would debit cash over and short $5 for the missing amount and still credit cash $70.